Welcome to the Network Plus Prepcast, your dedicated audio companion for mastering every objective on the CompTIA Network Plus certification exam. This series is produced by baremetalcyber.com. In episode 122, we explore how networks are monitored and measured to ensure ongoing health and reliability. Network operations teams depend on a constant stream of performance data to detect issues, optimize resources, and respond quickly to faults. Metrics like delay, loss, and utilization provide an objective view of what is happening within the infrastructure at any given moment. For Network Plus candidates, understanding how these measurements are collected, interpreted, and acted upon is vital for both exam success and operational readiness. Sensors and monitoring protocols like SNMP or Simple Network Management Protocol are the engines behind performance visibility. These tools automate the collection of health metrics from routers, switches, access points, and even the environmental systems supporting them. By using open standards, SNMP ensures compatibility between devices from different vendors, which is critical in modern, heterogeneous networks. On the exam, expect to see multiple questions that test your understanding of SNMP behavior, metric terminology, and how monitoring systems create visibility across physical and logical infrastructure. Performance metrics are quantitative indicators used to evaluate how well a network is functioning. They represent real-time or historical data about various aspects of traffic flow and device behavior. Metrics such as delay, jitter, packet loss, and interface errors help technicians spot problems before they escalate. These numbers also support long-term planning, such as identifying trends, predicting capacity needs, and validating service-level agreements. On the exam, you'll be asked to match specific metrics with their definitions and describe how they contribute to operational monitoring. Throughput and bandwidth are two closely related but distinct concepts. Bandwidth refers to the maximum amount of data that can travel across a link in a given time, such as 1 gigabit per second. Throughput is the actual amount of data successfully transmitted, which may be lower due to congestion, retransmissions, or other factors. Comparing these two values helps determine whether a link is being underutilized, overburdened, or operating normally. The exam may include graphs or scenario-based questions that require interpreting throughput versus bandwidth differences. Latency, jitter, and packet loss are three critical metrics for evaluating the quality of a connection. Latency measures the delay in data transmission from source to destination. Jitter measures the variation in that delay over time. Packet loss refers to data that never reaches its destination. High latency or jitter can disrupt voice and video services, while packet loss may indicate congestion or hardware faults. The exam will often present a performance scenario and require you to diagnose the likely cause based on these metrics. Interface utilization and error counts provide insight into how well a port is performing. Utilization measures the percentage of bandwidth in use, helping administrators determine whether a link is approaching capacity. Error counts, such as cyclic redundancy check failures or late collisions, can indicate cabling problems or misconfigured interfaces. These metrics are collected from switch and router ports and are often used to identify bottlenecks or hardware issues. On the certification exam, be ready to analyze interface statistics and determine whether high usage or error rates require attention. Monitoring a device's central processing unit and memory usage is critical for understanding its operational health. A spike in CPU usage could indicate excessive traffic, a denial of service attack, or runaway processes. Memory monitoring can reveal leaks or excessive buffer usage that may cause crashes or reboots. These resource metrics help predict performance degradation before it causes network instability. The exam may reference CPU or memory thresholds and ask what actions should be taken when they're exceeded. Environmental sensors add another layer of observability to network health by monitoring physical conditions like temperature, humidity, and power status. These sensors are often embedded in switches, routers, or uninterruptible power supplies. Alerts are triggered when thresholds are crossed, such as when temperature rises beyond safe limits or when airflow is disrupted. Environmental monitoring helps prevent hardware damage and supports uptime in data centers and wiring closets. The exam may include scenarios involving environmental factors and ask how they affect device performance or network reliability. SNMP, or Simple Network Management Protocol, is a standard protocol used to collect information from network devices. It operates on a client-server model, where a central network management station polls managed devices for data, or devices send unsolicited updates, known as traps. SNMP is used by most commercial monitoring tools and supports thousands of data points, including performance statistics, configuration data, and operational states. The exam will expect you to recognize how SNMP functions, what types of data it can access, and which devices support it. SNMP has evolved through several versions, each offering different levels of capability and security. Version 1 was the original and offered minimal security. Version 2C added better performance but still lacked encryption. Version 3 introduced support for authentication and encryption, making it the preferred option in secure environments. When deploying SNMP, administrators must choose the version that best fits the security and performance needs of the network. On the exam, be prepared to identify differences between versions and recommend the correct one based on a given scenario. The Management Information Base, or MIB, is a hierarchical database used by SNMP to organize and retrieve device metrics. Each piece of information, such as interface status or temperature, is identified by a unique object identifier, or OID. These identifiers allow the monitoring system to request or interpret data in a consistent way across different vendors. MIBs are often vendor-specific, but follow a standardized structure, ensuring cross-MOLDA compatibility. The exam may test your understanding of what a MIB does and how OIDs relate to performance metric retrieval. For more cyber content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other podcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. SNMP community strings are simple text-based identifiers used to control access to the SNMP data on a device. These strings function like passwords and are categorized into read and write types. A read community string allows access to view data, while a write string permits changes to device settings. If not secured properly, these strings can be exploited by attackers to gather intelligence or modify configuration. On the exam, you'll need to identify the role of community strings and recognize the importance of securing or disabling them in production networks. One of the core operational behaviors of SNMP is the distinction between polling and traps. Polling involves the network management station actively requesting data from a device at regular intervals. Traps, on the other hand, are unsolicited messages sent by the device when specific events occur, such as a failed interface or temperature threshold breach. Combining both methods provides a balance between regular oversight and immediate notifications. The certification exam may ask you to identify which situations call for polling, which for traps, or how they complement each other in monitoring systems. SNMP is often integrated into centralized monitoring platforms called Network Management Systems, or NMS. These systems collect and consolidate data from multiple devices into a single dashboard. They allow administrators to visualize trends, configure alerts, and track network health in real time. NMS platforms also support long-term reporting and capacity planning, helping teams understand usage patterns over weeks or months. On the exam, be familiar with the concept of centralized monitoring and how it improves operational visibility and efficiency. Sensor alerts and threshold-based triggers allow monitoring systems to respond automatically to abnormal conditions. When a metric like CPU load, temperature, or interface errors exceeds a predefined limit, the system can issue alerts to administrators or even initiate automated scripts. These thresholds can be customized based on device type or environment. For example, a high temperature threshold might differ between a core switch in a climate-controlled rack and an outdoor wireless bridge. The exam may test your ability to configure or interpret alerts based on metric thresholds and their operational context. Logging and archiving performance data provides long-term value beyond immediate troubleshooting. Logs allow teams to analyze historical trends, compare present-day behavior to prior baselines, and identify recurring problems. Archiving performance data also supports capacity forecasting and helps justify infrastructure upgrades. In regulated industries, archived logs may be required for compliance or audit purposes. The exam may include questions on how historical metrics are used for planning, or evidence and how long logs should be retained. For certification success, you'll need to understand the specific SNMP exam focus areas. Know the differences between SNMP versions, especially the security improvements in version 3. Be able to explain how polling and traps work together and how community strings regulate access. Recognize terms like MIB, OID, and Network Management Station. You'll also need to understand how SNMP interacts with environmental sensors and how alerts are generated and managed in a modern monitoring setup. Interpreting performance data is one of the most valuable skills in network operations. You'll need to differentiate between normal and abnormal conditions using metrics like latency, jitter, and error rates. No single metric gives a complete picture, so administrators must correlate data across multiple sources to identify root causes. For example, high latency and increased packet loss on a specific interface might point to congestion or hardware degradation. On the exam, expect multimetric scenarios where you'll be asked to assess conditions and choose the most likely cause or resolution. To summarize, effective network monitoring relies on accurate metrics, structured protocols, and proactive alerting. Metrics like throughput, latency, and error rates offer insight into performance and help prevent outages. SNMP enables structured data collection across heterogeneous networks and supports both active polling and real-time traps. Environmental sensors further extend observability by protecting the hardware layer, whether configuring thresholds, securing community strings, or reading graphs in a dashboard. These skills are central to successful network operations and central to your success on the exam. To wrap up episode 102, remember that metrics are the language of network health. Whether it's delay, load, or device uptime, these values help administrators keep systems running efficiently. SNMP is the protocol that turns those numbers into actionable data, enabling centralized visibility and automated response. And sensors, both digital and environmental, ensure no component is left unmonitored. Understanding these elements gives you the tools to maintain a reliable, high-performance network and positions you to handle the operational challenges tested in the Network Plus certification. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Network Plus Prepcast, your trusted audio guide to the CompTIA Network Plus certification. This episode was produced by baremetalcyber.com. For more cybersecurity podcasts, books, and resources, visit baremetalcyber.com. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cybersecurity Plus podcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com. And before you take the test, make sure to check out the practice questions in the book Achieve CompTIA Security Plus SY0-701 Exam Success by Dr. Jason Edwards. They cover every domain and are a powerful way to lock in your knowledge.